Welcome to Gen Z Unplugged. We are thrilled to be kicking off the official podcast for the Claire Booth Luce Center for Conservative Women. Today, we're going to be sharing with you all a little bit about who we are, your co-hosts for the show, and the vision for what this podcast is going to be all about, as well as the cultural issues and topics we're going to be diving into. So to get us started off, Rachel, if you want to share a little bit about who we are as a center and what we do and why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah, I'm Rachel. I'm the social media coordinator here at the Claire Booth Luce Center for Conservative Women. And here at the Luce Center, our mission is to prepare and promote conservative women. And we do that through a couple of different ways. We do it through national student summits. We do it through internship programs. We do it through firearms training for young women. And this is just one of the ways we do that. The podcast is an extension of that.
And we work with mostly college students, and most of those young women are Gen Z. So we're excited that this podcast, Gen Z Unplugged, is going to be speaking to the issues and the topics that you as Gen Z women are interested in. We are going to be talking about feminism and offering a healthy alternative to the narrative that you hear in the culture. We're going to be talking to experts on propaganda in the media. We're going to be talking about online dating, journalism, fake news, and we're really excited to bring on a rotating host. Her name's Hannah Faulkner. She has a show of her own called The Hannah Faulkner Show. You'll have a chance to meet her on next week's episode, but for today, we're going to just dive into the issues plaguing young women and give you all an overview of really what our vision for the show is going to be. So we'll go ahead and get started by introducing your hosts before we move on to everything else. So Rachel, would you go ahead and let everyone know who you are?
Yeah, of course. My name is Rachel. As I said, I'm the social media coordinator here. I've grown up here in DC my whole life, not far from our center. And I grew up in a big family. I'm one of 7 kids. I actually have all brothers, so I'm the only girl.
Wait for your future husband, guys.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, they're all sweethearts, though. I love them to death. They're amazing. Childhood, my mom and dad did a really hard thing. They homeschooled us. Some of my favorite memories from that were our homeschool field trips. We did the coolest things. We went to over to DC to all the Smithsonian museums. We went to the backs of restaurants to see how they made their food, backs of post offices, and the water, like Loudon Water Center. We went to the back of there and to see how they purified water. Just cool things.
That is really
So that was great. I had a golden childhood there. It was amazing. And then into high school and college, I really got more involved into kind of solidifying my conservative identity, I guess, and getting involved in issues and actually caring about that sort of thing. I ended up going to a very conservative college up in Ohio, and that was amazing. I really saw what a group of like-minded individuals can do for community. Like, it was just the most amazing community ever, and really a great place for learning. And a lot of people ended up coming to me and being like, oh, you've grown up in such a bubble, you went to a conservative college, you haven't really experienced the world yet. And I actually disagree with those people. I think learning in a safe environment with people who share your same values is such an amazing thing. And I think more of the analogy of the greenhouse is better than the bubble, because the baby plants get to grow their roots and kind of become firm in an environment where they're safe and protected. And then once they're ready, they're taken out of the greenhouse and then are able to survive all the harshness of the outside world. So I kind of view my experience as that. And then in college, I ended up getting involved in a lot of different things. I had amazing opportunities there. And I was a student athlete, which was amazing. I ran track and cross country all my time there, and that was incredible. I was a captain for the last 2 years, and just being able to lead women in that way, kind of hoping to be an inspiration to them and lifting them up when they had a bad race and things like that. So that was amazing. And I'm still friends with all my teammates and my coach. And I'm so glad that after I graduated college, I was able to come work here, which has, again, been an amazing time. I love working here. And I like how it has that same mission of, uplifting women, helping them in whatever way we can. So And Catherine, I know you were also a college athlete.
Yeah, exactly. That was a fun time. Being a college athlete and being a captain as well, being able to uplift, young women, my teammates, in any way I can. And also, like you, I'm the youngest of a big family. I have 7 older siblings. So that's a fun time. But
So fun.
Growing up in Tennessee, in Knoxville, it's a very conservative area. I was always surrounded by like-minded individuals. So I honestly think I kind of took that for granted, because when you are placed in an area where people think like you, people have understand the same truths as you, it was a great way for me to grow up, being able to solidify and firmly like hold those beliefs. Like, why do I believe those things? But when I went off to college, I was then surrounded by a pool of people who didn't have those same beliefs that I did, didn't have, and didn't share those same truths that I did. Even some basic ones that I thought everybody, agreed on, like what the definition of marriage is, what the definition of a man and woman is. I was shocked. And it gave me the opportunity to understand why I actually believed the things I did, and why I held them as truth, and why I held them as so important to my life. So during my experience there, I really took the opportunity to dive into my conservative beliefs and understanding of truths, and find out why I actually thought those things. And while doing that, I got to major in politics and philosophy and economics, which politics and philosophy, that combination was really interesting, because I was able to understand truths of human nature, and also look at the political side of, our American government. So finding the truths of America was a really cool combination, and helped me understand my conservative beliefs. And actually, the dean of the honors college of where I was, emailed me and was like, Catherine, would you be interested in going to this conservative all-women's conference in Nashville, Tennessee, to hear from these great influential conservative leaders and speakers? And I went to go visit him. I was like, this is totally something I want to do. Like, I'm so interested in this. And the next weekend, I was actually on a flight to Nashville, Tennessee. And that conference was actually the National Student Summit that the Luce Center here hosted. And I got to hear from so many influential people, Katie McFarland, Ali Bastucky, and Liz Wheeler, just some of the women that spoke so highly of their values and why they're so important to young women today, especially in the Gen Z culture, because of this idea of feminism being suppressed on young women, especially on college campuses, which I had experienced. So that's where I actually got to meet you, Lauren, and meet some of the staff there, and loved meeting you all. You guys were so incredibly strong in your beliefs, but also so empowering young women. And that's actually where I met the president of our center here, Kimberly Begg. Had a lovely conversation with her the first night, and we kept in touch, actually. And then I think a month and a half later, I accepted the job to come on board here, and it's been such a wonderful experience. And I just love it, and being able to work here to empower young women to stand firm in their beliefs has been such a blessing. But yeah, it was so awesome to meet you, Lauren, and hear what you do here.
Yeah, I definitely know. That was an amazing event. Definitely one of my favorite summits that we've ever done. So it was amazing to get to meet you and bring you on board. It's been great. We have a great team here. So I get to run our student programs, which means I get to work with tons of young college women doing days at gun ranges, doing campus lectures, summits, running our internship program. So it's been really cool to have a kind of firsthand look into what Gen Z women are interested in, kind of what issues are plaguing them. So that's been a real gift. But I, like you, Rachel, I grew up in the Northern Virginia area, which people who move here kind of like can't understand how you can be from here. I feel like it's kind of an anomaly. But I had a great childhood. Definitely a smaller family than you all, just one brother. But I love big families too, that's just amazing. But I went to public schools up in the Northern Virginia area. And what's interesting about the DC area is that pretty much everybody has political opinions by the age of like 7 or 8.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's so bizarre. It's so funny. It's like we're 20 minutes from DC, so we need to be an expert on all things political before 3rd grade. But I have this one memory of we had this mock election in my 1st grade class, and this was during the Obama and McCain race. And we were asked to participate in this little mock election, and I ended up actually voting for Obama.
Lord.
So funny now, because obviously I'm very involved in the conservative movement, but it's because everybody was doing it. And even when you're 8 years old, the group mentality definitely gets to you. So that really illustrates what our students are dealing with on campuses. It just gets more and more intense. And it definitely got more intense when I was in high school. During Trump's first election, there were girls crying in the hallway. It was like doomsday.
Wow.
So
Oh my goodness.
yeah, it's always a lot of drama, always a lot of excitement. So that was my background. And then I ended up going to a big state school, had an amazing experience there. And that's the place that I got into ministry. I started taking my faith a lot more seriously. And from that, developed a lot of really strong conservative values. Because I'd grown up conservative. Like we had the Reagan Shrine in our house, as is custom. But I
Classic.
didn't really understand why I believed what I did. And then my faith really started to inform those things. And at the time, I was a human development major because I wanted to be a counselor and do therapy. And what I quickly realized is that that field has been so infiltrated with woke ideology. I had a family relationships class where we were forced to watch a documentary about thruples.
What?
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
so bizarre. We had to learn about gender neutral preschools, and I think it was like Sweden or something like that. And these things were all framed as healthy options for people. So it became very clear that I wasn't going to be able to pursue the therapy field without sacrificing my values, and I wasn't willing to do that. So that's when I started to get really interested in the Daily Wire, developed my Daily Wire obsession, as many do. And I realized that the conservative movement actually seems to be doing a lot more to help people thrive than therapy was at the time. And I was really surprised by that. But I eventually found the Luce Center, and I saw that they were doing things for young women that nobody else was doing, that they actually wanted to support young women and give them an alternative to the feminist garbage that's dealed out to them and on campuses and younger. So it's been a real gift to be able to step into that and actually help young women flourish. And that's what this podcast is all about too. We're excited to help you Gen Z women see that there actually is a better way. And I know Rachel and Catherine, you all are going to share a little bit about what that looks like and just some background on that idea.
Yeah, exactly. So to get started with kind of how we're going to be looking at what feminism and the lies that it has sold to young women in how they're supposed to flourish and what happiness, what feminism thinks happiness looks like. We actually at the center here took a poll last year, over 800 young women aging between 18 and 24. And the results of this poll were very surprising, but yet not surprising in a lot of different aspects. And one we really want to highlight and pinpoint for the rest of this kind of conversation today is that 72% of young women believe that life is harder for women than for men. And I think that's very not surprising, but interesting because of feminism and the lie that says, motherhood is oppressive, marriage takes away from your professional career. And, I think that's a lot to do with, Rachel, you had a conversation with me a while back ago about this lie of feminism and how the hookup culture has created this idea in women's minds that it's the only way to achieve happiness because everyone's doing it. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's so true. This radical wave of feminism that we're in right now has been infiltrating the lives of young women for a long time. And it's been kind of just seeping in until now we're how do we get to where we are right now? It's just a crazy thing how it's progressed. But yeah, feminism is selling this modern manual for happiness for young women. And basically what they're telling people is to not get married, not have kids, and to just sleep around with whoever they feel like. And that's how they're telling them to be happy.
Yeah. And it's so damaging. And I've seen so many really, sweet peers of mine fall into that narrative, and it never delivers. I mean, they're told that their body is not sacred, that it can just be thrown around to anyone without any consequences. They're told, like you said, that marriage is actually a trap that the patriarchy has set up for us, and that motherhood is really just a burden and will stop you from girl bossing. So it's so damaging. And Catherine, this the statistic you shared about 72% of women who think their lives are harder than the lives of men, feminism will tell you that it's because of the patriarchy, that it's because we've been burdened by motherhood. But when in reality, it is this modern instruction manual that tells us that marriage and motherhood are negative things, kind of just insidious things. But I can speak to my own experience. I got married in September, so I'm about 9 months in or so. So things are very fresh, but it has been such a point of joy for me, and it has been just incredible. And I'm not trying to say that marriage is the only path to success, because that is not true at all. But it definitely is a path to success. And we want to tell young women that you can pursue a family lifestyle and you can pursue a career, and both of those things can be really fulfilling.
Yeah, exactly. And with this, we are so hopeful because we are seeing this pendulum shift back where young women today in our Gen Z culture are starting to see these lies that feminism has been pushing on them of, happiness and flourishment only coming from your girl boss era or, having that professional career. But you can do both. Marriage and motherhood, like you were saying, is such a point of happiness. And we love Ethan, your husband. He's such a great guy.
Amazing.
And seeing your guys' relationship, it's just beautiful to see and how happy you are every single day. So it's possible. You're an example of that.
Yeah, I know you just got engaged recently.
I did.
So we'll have to share about wedding updates and all of that too. But something that I think is fair to bring up right now is that work and motherhood don't have to be mutually exclusive, right? Rachel, I think you have some things to share about that concept.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, marriage and motherhood is not the only path to success, but it is a path to success. And that's similar to work. Like, work is not the only path to success. You don't need to girl boss your way through your whole life and just not have any personal connections with anybody and things like that. Right. But for the women who, maybe their path doesn't look like being married at 21 with their high school sweetheart or someone they met through college. Like, obviously, those women are going to want to make a difference in the world and go out and, maybe join the workforce if that's their calling. And, God has a different plan for everyone, especially in terms of timing. So a lot of women do end up doing both. They can do marriage and motherhood, and they can do work, maybe not at the same time, maybe at different times, maybe both at the same time. A lot of our speakers do that. So yeah, here at the Luce Center, we obviously want to support women in whatever path they choose and whatever God has in store for them.
Exactly. I think that kind of perfectly sums up what we're trying to do here. So we're excited to take you all along with us. Like I said, we're going to be having a lot of really incredible guests. You're going to want to hear from these guests, I promise you. We're going to be releasing episodes every other Wednesday at 4 a.m. So if you're going to the gym at 4 a.m., I hope you'll take us with you. And Hannah Faulkner is excited to join as well.
So yeah, make sure to follow us wherever you get your podcasts. We are going to be on Apple Podcasts. We're going to be on Spotify, Rumble, and you can find us at Real Gen Z Unplugged on all platforms. So we are super excited. Again, thrilled to be kicking this off, and we will see you next time.